What's up, yogis? Welcome back to Yoga with Julia. It's your Yogi Julia here, and today we're going to get into the alignment of 17 frequently used yoga poses. Let's get right into it. Throughout this video, you'll see a series of pink arrows showing you where you're supposed to be directing the weight in your body and how you're supposed to be settling into each particular pose. So for the first one, we're going to be doing a child's pose, where we draw our knees wide, press our hips back to our heels, and walk the hands out and away from the body. So here are those arrows there, as you see, pressing down in all of those directions there, relaxing down towards the mat. And then obviously when you're in a child's pose, you do have the options with your arms, so you can keep them over extended like so. You could bring your fingertips together and touch your thumbs back to your spine for a little bit of a tricep stretch there, or you could even bring your arms back down beside your body like so, just kind of resting on that upper body and just the knees. So any of those are fine, but just finding the pressing down through those pink arrow points in the initial pose. Our next pose is going to be tabletop. When we come into tabletop, we want wrist under shoulders, knees under hips, toes untucked. And as you can see here, we're pressing through the palms and pressing through the knees. So that's where the weight is being distributed in our body. And we just have a nice flat back. Next, we're going to look at cat and cow. This one is your cow. You're pulling your chest down as you lift your head up. And then as you exhale, you round. You find yourself pressing your weight through your palms and your knees, pulling up through the spine. So as you can see here, pressing down through those palms. And we move nice and slowly in between our cats and our cows, just to make sure that we're really getting as much of the stretch that we can there. After that cat and cow session, we're going to move on to our up dog, where we have our hands right underneath of our shoulders, our toes untucked, and we lift with our head, neck, and shoulders, finding a gentle back bend. As you can see here, the hips are still pressing down towards the ground as we lift up through the head, neck, and shoulders. Feel free to take some little twists here. I like doing those. Just kind of helps with that spinal rotation, especially in the warm-up part of the yoga. The next pose is going to be down dog. Now, when you're doing down dog, you want to make sure that you keep your gaze somewhere above your knees. So as you can see here, I'm really tucking my head under to really help with that alignment of my spine. And then as you can see, I'm kind of adjusting my feet, just making sure that it feels good to me first before I try to plant that weight down through my palms and my heels as I keep my knees bent and try to elongate my spine. We like to take lots of nice deep breaths here in our down dog. This should feel like a resting pose. If you have the proper alignment in your down dog, it will feel like a resting pose. Next, this is going to be a bent knee, three-legged dog, where we're pressing the hips forward, pressing that knee back, and then the rest of the body still has that down dog alignment. So again, on the other side with the down dog alignment, just one leg up, still trying to keep the hips high but pulling them forward. You can take a little bend of the knee there. This next one is very important, your forward fold. It's always good to make sure that you have a gentle bend in your knees, even if you're feeling extra flexible, so that way you have that space to let your head and your neck and your shoulders hang down as much as possible. So again, keeping the knees bent allows you to find that space. And I always like to do like a little sway, or maybe even a rag doll, where I grab either elbow or maybe even interlock my arms behind my legs. So anything like that is good in a forward fold. Coming up from a forward fold, we can do a halfway lift, where we press our hands into our shins and we're just reaching our head out away from our hips, as you could see with that arrow there. So it's just a nice little halfway stretch there. Moving on to mountain pose, we like our feet about hips width distance apart, toes pointed out slightly. We pull the shoulders up, back, and down to have a nice proud chest, facing the palms forward. You're pulling up through the crown of your head and stepping down through your heels. Really stretching in opposite directions here, trying to feel nice and tall, nice and strong, powerful like a mountain. Coming from there, we'll do a little back bend to counteract that forward fold. So I like to ground down through my heels, press my hips forward to allow myself to have a little bit more bend. Again, having the bend in the knees here is really going to give you that space. If you have your knees locked out, then you can only move so much. I'm actually not 1,000% certain what this pose is called, but for me it's a forward fold with a twist. So keeping that original forward fold alignment with knees bent, I'll place one palm down, lift the other, and I just look up towards the ceiling, trying to really reach through both hands in opposite directions, but again keeping that forward fold alignment with my knees bent so that I can find that space in my spine. It really does help. Moving on to a warrior one, I like to have my feet a little bit less than a wide stance. I'd say it's like a medium stance, 2 to 3 or 4 steps between the feet. Take a nice bend in your front knee. Your back leg is at about a 45-degree angle. As you can see, my toes are slightly pointed. I have this leg engaged, so as you can see with the arrow, that back leg is really straight, and I'm reaching up through my hands as I press my hips and that front knee forward. But again, as you saw with the arrows, that back leg stays engaged. It tries to stay straight to make sure that the front leg isn't doing all of the work. And then here that is on the other side. Again, front foot is forward, back foot is at about a 45-degree angle. We have a nice deep bend, as deep as we can with this short stance into our front knee. We have our hips nice and forward, and we're reaching through the hands. That back leg is straight and engaged to help with the front one. From here, we can move on to warrior two. So the front foot again is facing forward. The back foot this time is parallel to the top and bottom of your mat. So instead of being aligned with a corner at a 45-degree, it's in line with the top and bottom of your mat, perpendicular to your top foot. We have a nice deep bend through that front knee here as well, and we draw the arms out as we twist the hips open. In this pose, we're pressing down through both feet, reaching through both arms. And as we come to peaceful in warrior two, we just tip our arms back. So nothing in the lower half of the body changes, just the arms. And if you like, you can always take a little extra bend by wrapping your back arm around your lower spine. And then let's look at a triangle pose. As you can see here, I reach out as far as I can before I begin to reach down so that I can pull my hips forward and really reach through both arms. And again, if it feels all right, you can take that little bind behind the back. And then from here, we're gonna set up to do the same thing on the other side. So once again with that warrior two, that front knee is really deeply bent, that back leg is really engaged so that the front one isn't doing all the work. The hips are nice and open towards the side, arms are engaged, they are straight as well. And then as we come to our peaceful warrior, we just tip the arms back, keep that bend and that straightness in the back leg. Taking that extra little half bind if you like. And as we come back to warrior two, the legs stay. And then on this side, coming to a side angle. So instead of triangle with both legs straight, we're doing a side angle with our front leg bent. Very similar to triangle. Again, you can take that little half arm bind if you like. And then we'll go into triangle, reaching out as far as we can before reaching down. Again, both legs are straight here, both legs engaged, really reaching through both arms. Extra little half bend if you like. Coming up onto our next pose, we're going to look at a yogi squat. I like to do my yogi squat by placing my heels on the edges of my mat and taking my toes off the edges of the mat, just because that's how my hip width works. And as you lower down into your squat here with the arrows, you can see I'm really trying to pull my pelvis forward, stay nice and tall through my spine, and widen my knees all at the same time. And then just for fun, if you like, you can take a twist here just by placing one palm down, lifting the other, and alternating just like so. And then just for fun, to finish out my flow here, there's me attempting to do a little headstand. If you yogis would like to see a video on the alignment of headstands and shoulder stands, at least the way that I do them, I would definitely be open to doing that. Just drop that down in the comments, let me know. And with that, we are done. We've gone through 17 whole yoga pose alignments, so I hope that helps for the videos posted so far and all of the videos to come. Thank you guys so much for joining, and that's all I have for you today. See you next time.